There are men who shine under the spotlight, and there are men who carry it even when it burns. Denzel Washington, a name that commands silence. A man carved from fire, faith, and heartbreak. At 70, his story is not one of fame, but of burden. Because behind that radiant smile, behind the Oscars, behind the applause of millions, lies a tragedy too heavy for the world to see. Born in Mount Vernon, New York, December 28, 1954. Denzel was not raised by Hollywood. He was raised by faith and by struggle. His mother, Lennis, a beauty parlor owner with fire in her eyes. His father, Denzel Sr., a preacher and Pentecostal minister. But their home wasn't filled with harmony. It was filled with distance. Two people who loved God, but couldn't love each other anymore. When Denzel was 14, his parents divorced. And in that split, something inside the young boy broke. He once said, "My mother never gave up on me, but I was angry. I was lost." He was sent to a boarding school, away from home, not as punishment, but as salvation. A boy whose eyes carried rebellion, and whose soul carried confusion. He didn't know it then, but every role he'd ever play, every tear he'd ever shed on screen, would trace back to that broken 14-year-old boy, watching his parents drift apart. Denzel never wanted to be an actor. He stumbled into it. A coincidence, or maybe destiny in disguise. In college, after dropping out of medical studies, he volunteered at a YMCA camp. One day, during a talent show, he performed a short skit. Someone in the audience, a woman, approached him after and said, "You were born to act." Simple words, but they changed everything. He enrolled in the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. And from that moment on, his life became a mirror, reflecting stories of pain, justice, and faith. But there was a cost. He was no longer Denzel Hayes Washington Jr., the preacher's son. He became Denzel Washington, the myth, the mask, the movie star. And like every mask, it hid something deeper, darker. Every character Denzel played, Malcolm X, Alonzo Harris, John Q. Reuben Carter, they weren't just performances, they were confessions. Malcolm X, the anger of a man searching for God and identity. John Q., the desperation of a father watching his child fade away. Alonzo Harris, the corruption of power and the darkness of ego. Each role, a mirror, each line, a scar. He said once, "I don't just act, I dig into something real, something that hurts." And that's why his eyes could pierce the screen, because they weren't pretending, they were remembering. Hollywood crowned him a king. 2 Oscars, dozens of nominations, a legacy that will never fade. But when you reach the top, you start hearing echoes instead of applause. In an interview, he admitted, "You pray for success, but when you get it, you realize how empty it can feel." For every smile, there was isolation. For every award, a deeper distance. He never partied, never got lost in fame, because he saw what it did to others. The broken stars, the fallen idols. He feared it. He called fame a trap for the soul, and in that fear, Denzel began to retreat. Quietly, silently. To the world, Denzel was unshakable. But inside, he battled doubt, not in God, but in himself. His father's shadow never left him. The preacher, the moral compass, the man of the word. He would attend church alone, read scriptures in silence, pray before every film, not for success, but for guidance. "I'm not here to entertain," he once said. "I'm here to serve." But even faith can be lonely when you're surrounded by noise. Hollywood didn't understand him. They mocked his convictions, called him too serious, too old-fashioned, but he never changed. And that's the tragedy. The more he stayed true to himself, the more the world drifted away. Few know this, but one of Denzel's most heartbreaking chapters came with the loss of friends and mentors. He held close Whitney Houston, his co-star, his sister in spirit. He tried to save her. He prayed for her. But fame took her faster than faith could save her. He later confessed in a whisper, "I saw it coming. I tried to reach her. But some storms can't be stopped." The guilt haunted him. He began questioning whether Hollywood was a blessing or a curse. Every smile on the red carpet hid another ghost. Every applause reminded him of the voices that were gone. In a world of scandals and broken homes, Denzel stayed devoted. Married to Pauletta since 1983. 4 children. But even that love, steady and strong, came with sacrifices. He was gone for months on sets. He missed birthdays, moments, milestones. He once said, "You can have it all, just not at the same time." He tried to balance both worlds, the man of God and the man on screen. But sometimes, even faith can't erase regret. At 70, Denzel often looks back, not at his awards, but at the time he can't get back. Now Denzel lives quietly. No scandals, no noise, just the echo of a lifetime, lived between light and shadow. He teaches, he mentors, he prays, but he also mourns, not for himself, but for a generation that traded faith for fame. He told a group of students once, "Fail big, dream big, but remember who you are." Those words, powerful yet fragile, come from a man who's seen everything and lost just as much. Behind the strength, there's pain. Behind the discipline, there's exhaustion. Hollywood celebrates him, but Hollywood also isolated him. He once admitted, "There's a loneliness in being consistent, because when you refuse to bend, you stand alone." And Denzel Washington has stood alone for decades, a soldier of faith in a city built on illusion. At 70, Denzel has nothing left to prove, and yet everything left to say. He carries the weight of generations. He broke barriers, not just for black actors, but for men of conviction, men of integrity. But his tragedy lies in this truth: the world still praises his roles, and forgets the man behind them. A man who just wanted peace, a man who never chased fame, but found it, and couldn't escape it. And now as he steps into the twilight of his career, the silence feels heavier than ever. Denzel Washington, the preacher's son, who carried Hollywood on his back, and faith in his heart. A man who rose, who suffered, who endured, and whose greatest performance was not on screen, but in the quiet, unseen battle to stay human. Because sometimes, the brightest souls are the ones who bleed in silence.
That was today's story under the silent spotlight. If you enjoyed uncovering Hollywood's forgotten past, leave a like and subscribe for more vintage tragedies, mysteries, and untold legends. Until next time, keep the reel turning.